Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It is Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan. We have a midweek Inside the Birds podcast and the red hot Philadelphia Eagles we have to discuss. Adam, some injury updates. We have a big game, really a big stretch. It starts with the Commanders on Sunday, but it is two straight divisional rival games. Honestly, three, but I mean, the Giants, they're the Giants. I'm being nice to the Cowboys, by the way, because that's a rivalry game. But
They're
it's
hanging in there. They're still
right.
alive for a wild card spot, but yeah, they're not very good. And Jerry Jones, he just can't help himself. Now he's saying how good of a job Mike Zimmer and Mike McCarthy, the head coach, have done. Okay, whatever. Your team is 6-8, Jerry. I mean, what are we talking?
Fantastic job.
Yeah, exactly. But the cool thing, the big news, because in weeks 14 through 18, the NFL has jurisdiction over, they can make the flex scheduling changes themselves. They do it with consultation, but in the end, it's their call.
Hmm.
And somehow the Eagles game is still at 1 o'clock. It's not being changed. I was like, yes, it's not being moved.
It's amazing,
Oh,
and I believe they've already announced that the following week will not be
yeah.
flexed as well. So this is,
No, won't be flexed.
yeah,
I still don't understand why the hell. Okay, so they want the Bills in the 4 o'clock window, I guess, because they're playing the Patriots. The Patriots are terrible, obviously. So why would you want them being moved to the 4 o'clock window? But I guess they want they want, because you've got the awful Jaguars Raiders game, which is Ticket Broker's day off there in Las Vegas. You got another bad game, Niners Dolphins. So I guess you can't move that one. So they wanted a good team in the 4 o'clock window. I don't know. They're also, unfortunately, there are a lot of bad games this week.
there are, yeah, there are a lot of bad games, and that really is indicative of what the NFL is this year. It's very, very top heavy. We've talked about four teams that really feel like Super Bowl contenders, and then you get to tier two where you've got some good teams that have flaws, and then after these top eight, Adam, the other, what, 24 other teams are just not exciting, honestly. I mean, some of them better than others, but really just not exciting.
I mean, I was ready to crown Seattle the NFC West champs. Nope. They had a terrible setback. Even with before Geno Smith got hurt, they were not playing well against Green Bay. Atlanta's, after that great Eagles win, they got bailed out against the Raiders. They're not very good. Kirk Cousins is playing poorly.
Mhm.
Uh, the Niners are obviously, they're still alive for the last wild card spot, but barely. They need a minor miracle. New Orleans stinks. The Bears stink. They're on a long losing streak. Carolina, they showed a little flash, but they had a bad loss against the Cowboys. The Giants are the Giants and Raiders are the two worst teams in the National Football League. The
Mhm.
Titans stink. The Jaguars stink. The Browns stink. The Jets stink. You're right. I mean, it's the haves and have-nots. It's a really big, like, so some years you have three or four bad teams. It just seemed like there's an inordinate amount of teams that are really bad this season.
Yeah, you know how I say every team sort of has an inexplicable loss when you look back on things, and
Yeah,
and maybe for the Eagles, that loss would be
week two.
who's not Tampa, it would be the
Falcons.
yeah, the
Falcons.
Falcons game,
Sure.
right? The
Yeah.
inexplicable loss is for some of these bad teams. Somehow the Raiders went on the road, west to east, overcame a 10-point deficit and beat the Ravens in a 1 o'clock game on the East Coast. And somehow the Giants went out to Seattle, which is a pretty good team. Now they're on that second tier of,
They
they can be up
killed
and
them that
down,
game.
but there's no reason the Giants should have beaten Seattle as badly as they did. Remember, they didn't even have Malik Neighbors in that
Yeah.
game. Okay. I can't believe the Giants could beat anybody without, well, in general, but especially without Malik Neighbors. That's hard to believe.
That game, and that was a Tyrone Tracy game for fantasy. People are going out of their minds. And Daniel Jones, people forget because his tenure with the Giants was terrible in the
Right.
end. But he got off to a really good start this season. People are like, the dumb media idiots, they're killing Daniel Jones. Look how well he's playing. Well, he spoke too soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's now
That's why we never recalibrate after three, right? That's our thing in
yeah.
September.
I've been
Uh,
warned. Yeah, no, we're not, right?
All right. So
And
the
it's
Eagles
yeah,
got some injuries here that we got to get
yeah.
into. We have this is a great week on the platform, especially for our Patreon members. We had Clay Harbor for our
Mm.
monthly Chalk Talk pod. Clay told me a week or two ago, because we keep in contact, friend of the show, did some work for ITB last year, that he's seen every single Eagles game, either when they played or just on tape. He's still watching. So he had some really fascinating insights on the Eagles. I like asking Clay and also Jason Avant for Q&A about the Eagles defense as offensive players, how they would attack it, what they would do, where's the weakness. And both of these guys are having trouble right now finding any weaknesses. That's just how good the Eagles defense has been. So if you want to see the entire interview with Clay Harbor, who touched on a variety of subjects, including what it's like in the locker room, playing for a coach like Nick Sirianni, Clay had some really interesting things to say. And then also to compare it to, he has to watch the Bears every week because he covers the Bears out there in Chicago, who play, by the way, the Lions and the Vikings, teams that the Eagles could potentially play in the playoffs. So we asked him a lot about matchups and stuff, and it was a really great job by Clay.
He knows his stuff. Like he was dialed in, man. He liked it. It's like I thought we were listening to Q&A with him because he's so like I get he's a former player. He still pays attention. But he's like, well, he clearly seen like every play because I was like, wow, he really knows his stuff. That was really good. And then he's back on Thursday night. We got him, John T. Filippo, the Super Bowl winning Eagles quarterbacks coach. He's back. He shocked us doing an hour last month, and I begged him. I was like, dude, could you come back? He goes, when do you need me? And we worked it out. And we're gonna set him like a turkey for no, we're gonna set him something for Christmas if he's willing
Turducken.
to do an hour. I know. No, yeah, that used to be like the gifts that people would send, for
Yeah,
obviously
of
given.
course.
But and then we had Cosell last night. Greg was it's so great because Greg, it's funny people get on Greg because they say Greg's too critical of Hurts. Greg was the one who said, "I think Hurts is going to get it done this game." That was his player of the game coming in. He did
Yeah.
say that. He felt like this was the game that they were going to throw coming out throwing. Greg says it every week. He thinks it's going to happen. They'll come out throwing. But this is the game they did, and it was good. He was able to talk about that and a lot of other things. It was great.
Thanks for bringing that up. And when we get to some tape observations, I want you to repeat that to me because I tend to forget some things I want to talk about because
Okay.
Greg has said something very positive about Jalen Hurts that some of Greg's critics seem to refuse to want to acknowledge that I think was such a big key in beating the Steelers and just a big key in their win streak that Greg for weeks has been mentioning. And it's like nobody wants to bring that up, that Greg actually says this and has a very big impact on the offense. And we'll talk about it when we get to the tape
Okay.
notes. Just please don't let me forget about it. But
Will
yeah,
do.
Clay Harbor, John D. Filippo, it's going to be an awesome next 5 to 7 days here on the Patreon platform, as it always is. And you need to get in at patreon.com/inside the birds. And Adam and I have been on Discord during the
Oh
games,
yeah.
chatting it up with our members.
Oh,
That's
that's so
always fun
funny.
as well.
It's so fun because you could see the agony. If there's a bad play, that everybody goes out of their mind, and then the next play, oh yeah, it's great. And yeah, we were in there just about every game.
Mhm.
Sometimes we're in the whole game, or we pop in and out. But yeah, so patreon.com/inside the birds and that and Q&A show was great. And it's great because we put clips on for Q&A, we put them on IG. It's just funny because they tag Jason. Jason will chime in on
Mhm.
IG. It's cool.
Yeah. Hey, we're all interactive. We're about the people, whether you love us or you rip us or you hate us or one day you love us, next day you hate us. We get it. It's part of the job. So we enjoy the interaction on social media. And by the way, if you're not yet, please follow us on TikTok. We have been putting up separate
Oh,
videos on TikTok and trying to be more engaging, trying to reach the younger people, as they say. But even if you're not young, I'm not young. I'm on TikTok. So go ahead. Follow us on TikTok. It's at inside. Is it at Inside the Birds or Inside? But yeah, all one word at Inside the Birds on TikTok.
all right.
TikTok. All right, Eagles injuries presented by our friends at Stretch Zone, right? You can see I got the nice shirt on, the Stretch Zone shirt. If you're watching on
All right.
YouTube, there you go.
Yes.
All right.
Nice. Yeah. The
Um,
polo. The polo. Very nice.
yes, very nice. All right. Uh, big week here. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday practices as we
Yep.
see if the Eagles offense is going to be at full strength or even close to full strength against the Commanders on Sunday. Obviously, Adam, the big ones are the running back Saquon Barkley and of course left guard Landon Dickerson. Now, when Dickerson leaves, Tyler Steen comes in. And so you at least feel confident that Tyler Steen, when he's gone in there, has gotten the job done. If Barkley can't play for whatever reason, I mean, listen, Kenny Gainwell has done great. I thought he had a really nice game against the Steelers. We'll talk about it, but you're talking about an MVP, maybe the MVP of the league, if there's an issue here.
Yeah. By the way, Gainwell is. No one's ever going to mistake him for being explosive, but he's so decisive. His vision's better. He's moving better.
Mm-hmm.
I know Andrew DeCecco and I talked about that. We were filling in for you. I don't know when earlier this season. We talked about how he looked a little bit more, little more explosive in training camp.
Hmm.
But he played, boy, Gainwell. He had more snaps than I thought. He actually had 31 snaps. He took all 31 snaps Barkley missed in this game. Now remember, Barkley came back. He still had a number of carries. So we'll see how they list him out. It's not a question whether Barkley's playing this week. It's just do they limit his snaps? Because look, he was out. He had to keep that leg loose. We don't know if it's a knee or a leg, thigh, quad.
Right.
We don't know yet.
Right.
We'll see how he's listed later today. If they do it all, you would think they'd give him the rest tag. So usually what'll happen is if a guy's nursing even a minor injury, it'll say rest slash whatever it is, because they don't want to give him his usual amount of snaps on a Wednesday and against that after coming out of that game, where he got banged up. Then the big one though was Landon Dickerson. Now Dickerson is listed with a knee injury. As you mentioned, Tyler Steen replaced him. Dickerson, sometimes when players get injured, you don't see him on the sidelines. He was there like in uniform. He just didn't get cleared to come back.
I thought
So
that
we'll
was
see.
significant. I thought that was very
Yeah,
significant that
yeah,
you saw him on the sideline.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Because
that
to
was
your
good.
point, if it was like a major, if it was something really horrific, you'd think he'd be back in the locker room getting all the x-rays at that point or, getting more medical attention. So I think that I'm, no reason to panic just yet.
Yeah, and Tyler Steen, as you said, is his replacement. Britton Covey, he practices. He's working. He hasn't got cleared for contact yet. So he got more work last week than the other 2 weeks after his neck injury. So he's closer. As we know, Cooper DeJean is the returner. He did have the fumble. And Michael Clay, the special teams returner coach, talked about this on Tuesday. About ball security. They're working on that. And Goddard is out through week 17 at a minimum because he's got to miss 4 games on IR. And we know Grant Calcaterra's done a nice job. He doesn't get a ton of passes,
Hmm.
but you saw that first pass of the game was beautiful. But that was actually a portent of things to come because Hurts was dealing it, dialing it up, and that was a great throw. And I know they don't have much of a vertical game. They're not throwing the ball vertically like they were in 22, but man, it got off to a good start getting Calcaterra. That showed something in that game that oh boy, this might be something, and it was.
Do you feel like the Eagles have been much better off than you thought they would be without Dallas Goddard?
Yes. Look, they've got Uzama as a wide tight end, as an inline blocker. Calcaterra, he'll never be confused with Goddard as a blocker, but he's made a better effort as an angle blocker. It's the same way Brent Selleck rebuilt his career when Chip Kelly took over. He became more of a blocking tight end. He learned so did Zach Ertz did the same thing with his angle blocking, positional blocking. You're not going to drive people. That's not what Grant does, but he's gotten better at it. Yeah, and then by the way, EJ Jenkins playing this last game. Remember they signed him off the practice squad now, so he's on the roster.
Hmm.
So, but that they have opportunities. They're patchworking the best that they can. But Calcaterra's explosive, man. He's the only catch he had was the only target. In fact, it was the only target he had was the one to start the game. But yeah, he's get it. They're not getting killed without him, I guess is what you're asking. No, they're not. I mean, it's not the same.
Right.
I'm interested to see when Goddard comes back for the playoff run. And if Jalen continues to, he banks this game, continues to build that confidence. Because you saw the balls over the middle, man. This stuff that he doesn't throw the ball over the middle, he sure as hell did in this game. Let's see what happens. Because that's where Goddard roams in the middle.
Yeah, I think, you can say maybe the passing game hasn't up until the Steelers game, right? We were talking about the passing game being somewhat problematic and maybe you can trace that to not having Goddard for a couple of weeks. But what has pleasantly surprised me is how well they've still been able to run the ball and how much they've still been a 12 personnel team even without Dallas Goddard. That's good on the coaches for not like losing faith and saying we can't play these guys, and good on Grant Calcaterra, as you mentioned, because he's an improving and a willing blocker. Yes, sometimes he'll get blown up. Yes, sometimes he'll get pushed back, but not all the time and not enough to make the run game completely stalled since Goddard's been out. It's been still effective. You do see Saquon Barkley being able to get on the edges when they do run the outside zones. So I've been pleasantly surprised by how overall, offensively, they've been able to maintain their identity of being heavy 12 personnel when they want to be, with Grant Calcaterra in there. So good for them.
I'm just going to add that Kellen Moore's scheme really is 11. He's heavy 11. Everywhere he's been heavy 11. But certain things happen this season. It's Dotson's not. He's gotten a little better since he's gotten here, but not a great third receiver. And that's part of why they're playing a lot of 12 personnel. And plus, it works. And, they become this running team. And typically, you like having two tight ends on the field anyway when you're a super running team. And they are the number one rush offense. So it's they've got it going on. And to finish the defensive injuries, Darius Slay, he only missed like 5 snaps with a leg injury. See if they list him. Then Bryce Huff, typical wrist surgery recovery, 6 to 8 weeks. So this is week 5. Vic Fangio gives out all the information. So he was asked about Huff potentially practicing this week, and he acted like that wasn't in the cards. So we'll see. But remember, Huff had the surgery when he had it because they wanted him back for the playoffs instead of waiting. You could. I know. Look, let's not forget though. The Eagles were rotating 4 edges. People forget about this because we're only using 3 now. But remember, to start the season, BG was seeing more snaps than Nolan Smith. For the 5th game, it was BG was the 3rd edge, and Nolan Smith was the 4th guy. Then, as you know, Huff got hurt, BG got hurt, Smith got thrown in there, and now he's playing really good football. So it's good to see.
Yes, and surprisingly, I was surprised to see this because I believe Charles Harris played a few, like 2 or 3 defensive snaps the week before against Carolina, but he did not play any snaps against the Steelers. So it was a
Yep.
true 3-man edge rotation against the Steelers, and I'll tell you, they got the job done. You can't really take any credit away from them. Not that you'd want to, but they were excellent.
They were.
You mentioned Slay, right, as he deals with the
Yep.
leg.
And Huff, that's it.
Yep, and Huff, right. Okay, and of course,
Although,
go ahead.
although we'll see if there are any pop-ups. Just want to say that because
Point.
I just want to make it clear. This happens every 3 or 4 weeks. Like we go over every injury we know about, the ones that we've heard about, and then someone will pop up that nobody knew about. Hey, look, David Montgomery's injury, by the way, was not listed by the Lions
Right.
coming out of the game. Then he came in, his knee was bothering him. He had an MRI on Monday morning, and it showed that he had a badly torn MCL, which ended his
Right.
season. So you just don't know.
It's just so bad for them. Oh, I feel terrible.
Yep.
Also, the fullback Kerry Blasingame reverted back to the practice squad on Monday, so he has 1 elevation left. So we'll see how that coincides
Yeah.
with where Goddard is when he's ready to come back. Whether they feel they still need Blasingame, whether they need to sign him to the 53, or if it's okay, they won't need him anymore because they expect to get Goddard back at some point. We'll see.
Yep.
All right. So that is it for the Eagles injuries there. And like I said, it's sort of a waiting game. And as you mentioned, the pop-up ones. And by the way, if Jalen Carter, who pops up every once in a while, limited with a shoulder,
Shoulder.
right?
Yeah.
If he's got a shoulder injury, let us all be as functional as he is with some kind of injury, because the way he just bullies people, you'd never know that any part of his shoulder was an issue, especially the way he one-arm clubs people at him. I mean, he
Yeah.
with
He also
both
can't
hands.
be.
I mean, he's
I
smacking
know.
people. I mean, I don't
Can't
mean
be
that
punching guys.
facetiously.
Can't.
He's
He's very
literally
lucky.
punching people. Yeah.
You don't want to get thrown out of a game, and
No.
he'll learn. But yeah, remember as we detailed this last year. We checked in on this. He had a history of shoulder issues at Georgia, so it's something to keep an eye on.
All right. We'll keep an eye on that. So, Adam, winter is almost here, right around the corner, but the winter weather, we know that has been here. And I hear it's going to be very, very cold over the weekend. So, people are going to want to get their indoor activities, their racket sports going right now. So, you can sign up if you want to get stretched out and get ready for these sports, right? Sign up for your free 30-minute stretch at stretchzone.com. And also, with the holidays around the corner, what a great way to give gift cards. Give a gift card to a friend who would really use, or a family member who would really use Stretch Zone. Adam, you like those, right?
I did. I just actually bought 3 of them.
Nice.
They're packs of 8, and that way you could. And by the way, you could roll them over the next month if you don't use them. I go twice a week. Some people only go once. It's whatever you need. But it's I thought it was an economical way to get a gift for people I really care about. And there's some people I know are struggling physically. And this is my 3rd anniversary with Stretcho, and I believe in it. That's why I keep doing it. That's why our partner of ours. And don't forget, they've got 12 locations in PA, New Jersey, Chester County, Main Line area, Haverford near Suburban Square, Devon near the Whole Foods. I was just in there last week to see my man Tyler, Exton in Wetland Town Center to see Hassan, who's a big Seahawks fan. See Hassan, the manager there from Seattle. He's reeling after that terrible loss. Hassan's a big lacrosse guy, but he's a big Seahawks fan. South Philly near Graduate Hospital on Washington Ave, Montgomery County, where I grew up in Elkins Park, the Yorktown Plaza, Upper Dublin Drescher area in the promenade at Upper Dublin off 611. Also off 611, Feasterville near Lower Southampton Village. Near you in New Jersey, Cherry Hill and Evesham Road. And I know you go there. Where our man Greg Cosell is going to go. We're going to send him to Mount Laurel, right near
Mhm.
work, near NFL Films in Centerton Square, near the Wegmans. I've been to that one. It's right across the street from NFL Films, pretty much.
Yep.
Franklin Lakes on Franklin Ave, Northfield on Tilton Road, and Princeton in Nassau Park Pavilion. StretchZone.com. Get the gift of stretching. Feel like Geoff and I. StretchZone.com.
So interestingly, you said Hassan is a Seattle Seahawks fan.
Yes, he is.
Adam, who is one of my stretch practitioners, is an Arizona Cardinals fan. So if we
How?
get these guys together, a big
Same
NFC
division.
West rivalry right there, right? That's
I wonder
stretch
if Rasan
zone.
knows that. I'll ask him that when I'm in tomorrow. Yeah, I'll ask him. That's hilarious.
It is pretty
Cardinal
funny.
fans, do they exist? It's like Texas Ranger
Apparently
fans.
they do. Apparently they do.
Are they real Texas Ranger fans? Are they real
No,
Arizona Diamondbacks back
absolutely not.
fans? Are they real? Anyway,
Absolutely not.
sorry.
All right. So those were the Eagles injuries that we went through. Let's talk about the Commanders
There are a
injuries.
lot
And
of them.
yeah, they're and I feel like
I got.
every time we do this matchup, I feel like the Commanders are just bitten by injuries. I don't know. It's a weird thing, but go ahead.
They got more, and I got updates for you. So Austin Eckler, who crushed the Eagles in that first matchup when they were behind a lot of checkdowns. He's been. This is his second stint, I think, on IR this season.
Mm-hmm.
This time it's a concussion. Yeah, you don't want to have. No, I'm sorry, it's his first. This one is definitely a concussion, but he did miss a game before that with a heel injury. But yeah, he's on IR. Jeremy McNichols, you might remember him with the Niners and the Bucks and other teams. I'm told he's a really good pass protector, and that's why you see him on third down. So the Eagles will see him on third downs.
Mm-hmm.
Noah Brown will not return. Unfortunately, he has a kidney issue. He got put on IR.
Oh.
He got hurt in this game. Olamide Zaccheaus filled in for him. And you know that they just brought Jameson Crowder. He's only a slot receiver, but he's not bad when he's healthy. He just came off IR. And then we may not see Zach Ertz. Zach has a concussion. Damn.
Oh man, that's hopefully he'll be better. Okay.
Yeah. So hopefully he'll play. And John Bates is their wide tight end. And they use Ben Sinnott as a move tight end.
Mm-hmm.
If Zach can't play, they'll combo those guys. Biotish, their starting center, became ill when he woke up Sunday morning, and he wound up not playing. Michael Dieter, who's a backup guard center who started some games at Garden Center for Miami and Houston, he filled in, but they think Biotish will play this week. And this is crazy. Now, some teams just have the worst luck with kickers. So Austin Seibert is on IR. He was their first kicker, who, by the way, was phenomenal for fantasy. He was like the sort of fantasy kicker.
Yep.
He was great. He got put on IR with a right hip injury. Zane Gonzalez, you might remember him. He was a draftee of Cleveland. He's a left foot injury. He didn't play last week. Greg Joseph, who's been with a number of teams, he filled in. He missed a couple kicks, but they said he's going to kick if Gonzalez can't. They're not going to cut him. At least their plan as of now is not to cut him if Gonzalez is not ready. So their plan is to stick with Joseph. So they're going to take it through the week and see if Gonzalez could play. Jonathan Allen tore his pectoral muscle. He's out through the regular season at least. Rookie Johnny Newton, the second rounder who had the foot injury, he's back and he's filling in. Jeremy Chin has concussion. Derek Forrest, who's started some games, he filled in late when Chin got hurt. And then Marshawn Lattimore finally played. This guy's got the worst hamstring problems. He played in his first game, and ironically, who did he play against?
The
Of
Saints.
course. Of course.
But he's okay, right?
He's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what the injury report shows, but he played really well in that game, and this is why they traded for him because they were really bad. Remember, they cut Emmanuel Forbes. This group inherited that player. They cut him, and they were just not good enough a corner. And he's a shutdown corner if there ever is one when he's healthy. But if you remember, going back to Ohio State, he's had major hamstring problems throughout his career, really bad chronic hamstring issues, and look, he's been out. He had never played after the trade. After the trade, they got him in early November. And look, he just played here, so we'll see how he comes out of that game. But he certainly depended. They play more man coverage, by the way, than most teams. Not that any team plays more than 35 to 40% man,
Right.
but Dan Quinn will man it up, and he knows the Eagles. He knows them very well.
All right. Well, we'll see. And we'll have more on Washington and Eagles injuries, obviously, as the week goes on and we get the practice reports in. Should be an interesting one. Those are some pretty significant injuries to some of the beats there for the Commanders. All right. Let us move on to some tape notes from the game. And of course, we'll get into it with Greg Cosell on Inside the Tape with Greg Cosell. That'll be out Thursday, a little later than usual, probably around 11 or noon. That'll be out with Greg Cosell. Before we move on, Adam, you know that the holidays are a time for togetherness. Families come together, friends come together, gifts are often shared. Well, Game Time, the Game Time app, is focused on togetherness this holiday season. And that means you can bring people together at live sporting events. You know, there's always a lot of great sporting events to go to during the holidays. A lot of basketball games, a lot of football, of course, and local college basketball. And of course, as we always say, a lot of great holiday shows. Things that bring people together. That is what Game Time is trying to do and would love to do for you. So take advantage of all that they have to offer, including Game Time Picks, which filters out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. In fact, Adam, I've kind of thought about maybe getting together with some friends, depending on how far this Penn State football run goes,
Yeah.
and jumping on the Game Time app and, perhaps being in Atlanta in a few weeks for some big games, but they got to get there first.
Ooh.
Let's just
Yeah.
say. Let's just say. But if they're there, I'll be using the Game Time app and taking advantage of a super deal, as well as the other great tiers of deals that give you the best value for where you're sitting. You know, you get to see your seat before you buy it in their special view from the seat function on the app. And then, of course, you're covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. That includes event cancellation protection and job loss protection. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code BIRDS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code BIRDS, BIRDS, for $20 off your first purchase. And download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Some notes from the game, tape notes. And this is where I really want to give Greg Cosell a lot of credit because I know his critics will not. But for weeks now, Greg has been praising Jalen Hurts' ability to orchestrate the no huddle offense at the right time. It's not just about going no huddle for the sake of going no huddle, right? It's about going no huddle, not just to give your offense some rhythm and tempo, but to prevent the defense from substituting, catching the
Yes.
defense off guard. And on the Eagles, I believe it was their first touchdown drive where it ended with the pop pass to AJ Brown. That was the first touchdown drive, right? I believe
They
that
went
was
tempo a lot to
it
start the
was I
game.
think the entire drive was tempo, Adam,
Mhm.
if I'm not mistaken. And what I notice is uh, there was a time, and I'm sure that this is what Jalen Hurts noticed, where Cam Hayward wasn't on the field. They must have been substituting at the time, and Hayward wasn't on the field, and neither was Benton, Keanu Benton, another good defensive lineman. And that's when they ran the ball, and then Hurts got them right back together, and they went no huddle, and they went no huddle. So they were able to execute a lot of that drive without having to deal with Hayward because you can't get a guy on the field, right, and substitute when the offense is going no huddle like that. So I think and when you want to say why do the Eagles be able to move the ball, how is it they'll be able to convert third downs? Why does Jalen Hurts have time? Why does the offensive line do such a good job of blocking? Well, that stuff makes a huge difference, Adam, to be able to do it that way. So you got to give them a ton of credit for that. I thought that was there were many times in the game they went no huddle, probably more so than usual. And I think that this is one of Jalen Hurts' biggest strengths, his IQ, his football intelligence, his ability to understand situational football and orchestrate no auto offense and still protect the ball. Yes, we know he had one turnover, but in general, that really jumped out to me offensively that he did that. And then the second thing that jumped out to me, first play of the game you mentioned went to Grant Calcaterra, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember the kind of pass it was?
Crosser or wait,
Well,
was it a
it was
cro
more of like a stick nod where he threw it up
Okay.
to and Calcaterra high pointed it. There were
Yes.
three occasions where Jalen Hurts threw a back shoulder high point. One of them was almost picked off by Dante Jackson, but one was Calcaterra. The other one was the sideline throw to AJ Brown that went for 21 yards, where he back shouldered it. And then, like I said, later in the second quarter, he tried a touchdown on one and almost got picked off, but that's okay. That to me, Adam, showed what we've also talked about trusting your guy. His ball placement,
Mm.
we always say, is one of the best parts of his game. He's a very accurate quarterback, okay? He trusted his receivers there to make a play and put the ball where only they could. And guess what? They made plays. I thought that really stood out.
That was good. And The thing about Hurts is that, and no one could answer this, only he really could, about why he's had, for most of the season, having problems pulling the trigger on throws. But man, when he sees it, when he's feeling confident, boy, the confidence was exuding. I mean, if you're watching this game and you're like, wow, he's dealing it.
Mm-hmm.
You would think, and this is what I was talking about with Mike Gill on Tuesday on Football at 4. The thing that I was defending with Hurts this season, because it'd been fodder with, actually, it's kind of weird with former players on these talk shows, which it's called like Hot Take Central. Jalen Hurts, like really over the top, like really vicious, like he can't process. He doesn't know what he's doing. That's okay.
Not
The
true.
tape showed that he was not pulling the trigger, but it's not like he hasn't played elite football before. Did you see 2 years ago?
Right.
I understand the scheme's different. I get all that, but at some point it's going to come. And now I'm not saying this week against Washington he's going to go lights out again, but the point I made with Mike Gill is he's capable of doing it. He absolutely is. He just did it.
Yep.
And now the hope is, if you're the Eagles coaches, particularly Kellen Moore and Doug Nussmeier, who are the ones who are directly coaching him, that the confidence is going. You mentioned the tempo, the precision, the confidence, and the willingness to throw. He had the willingness and he did it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're hoping this manifests in more confidence going forward. And by the way, against a team that he very well knows, he's gone up against Dan Quinn before. It's not his first time going up going against Dan Quinn. He's going to do it again on Sunday
Mm-hmm.
on the road in cold weather, by the way. Shouldn't be too windy, but he knows what he's going to get. Dan Quinn plays a specific way, and you just have to come in with confidence, and you would hope that he builds confidence off this game.
The third play of the game was such an example of Hurts. Really, you could tell that he feels it, and watching tape even so, because it was 2nd and 3. He dropped back. There was a little bit of pressure, not much, a little bit. The pocket was more like kind of closing in, and he hit Devontae Smith over the middle on a crossing route. Now, how many times over the last 3 or 4 or 5 weeks have we said, I don't understand. Devontae is crossing right in front of him. Why
I
doesn't
know,
he throw
I
it?
know,
And
I
this
don't
time he
know.
planted the foot and he threw it and
Drove it.
in
Yeah.
time. You remember how we say these concepts, crossers mesh, you got to throw it between the hashes, not wait. He didn't wait. He hit him so well in stride that when Devontae got the ball, he was able to turn upfield and to turn from maybe a 10 to 12 yard gain into a 21 yard gain because Devontae catches and goes upfield quickly. That's one of his strengths. So that's how you knew. Jalen just saw it better. He felt it better. Must have had a great week of practice. And as I kept said in the post game, you just hope that feeling, that what he did well in this game carries over and carries over. Do we expect him to be perfect every week? No. But not to have a 3 or 4 week slump where you're like, man, you're really not seeing the open guys. So this was a really good springboard for the offense, I thought.
Yeah, it was just very impressive. And I love what Kellen Moore said. Kellen Moore said on his press conference on Tuesday, Hurts processed very well, which he also was very confident. And I also thought, I thought it's interesting. I don't know if you picked this up. I like how he crowbarred in there when they talk about Gainwell. He's one of Nick's favorite players.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking about that since he was drafted, that we were told then that the coaching staff, particularly Sirianni, really pushed for Gainwell. But what I think Nick probably saw was the way that he was used at Memphis as a receiver out of the backfield, which he rarely is here. I don't know how he became this grinding back.
Yeah.
Even Ryan Silverfield, his head coach, by the way, who we've had on Ryan a couple times, he didn't see this. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Although he did make some really nice, nifty catches and moves, of course, against the Steelers.
Oh, that spinner.
Yeah.
Woo!
Oh,
That was pretty awesome.
He must have felt like he was back in Memphis with the move.
Yeah, you look good.
So that's really my offensive. It's just how decisive Jalen was, how accurate he was as he normally is when he's decisive and pulls the trigger, and his ability to operate the no huddle, not just for the sake of it, but noticing who the Steelers had on the field at times and then being able to capitalize on those advantages. I'll have a few defensive tape notes in a second. Let's just pause to hear a word from our great friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schiller, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
If you hop into Sky Motor Cars out there in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Jeff sent you. You'll get a great deal. If you can't make it, that's okay. You can go to skymotorcars.com, check out the inventory, see what you like. It's not about buying cars. It could be about trading cars, leasing cars, everything. And they have wonderful customer service. That's our friends at Sky Motor Cars. All right. Defensively, Adam, we'll touch on all of this with Greg, but man, Nolan Smith, it really just jumped out at me. He had a power, a bull rush into who's the right tackle? Broderick Jones.
Yeah, so on that play, I just tell you, I was told it's funny you bring this play up. So Broderick Jones' pass set was terrible, and he let Nolan bull rush him, just as you said.
Yep.
It's on tape. And Nolan Smith I don't want to say he's come out of nowhere because again, as I said earlier in the show, he did not have a very good training camp. That's why he started as the fourth edge rusher.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you got to get it up. Hey, I get it. Is that one guy gets hurt, his wrist surgery, BG gets hurt, and he's got to play. He's got to be the guy. And he's taking a run with it. I mean, this has been a great story. He's getting better as a pass rusher. Really good edge defender. But in terms of the run, like this is the part about his game. We're like, wow, he's really good at it. We knew he was very smart. We knew he was well coached at Georgia. And is it what's his Schumann? What's the guy's name?
Schumann, yeah.
Schumann, the D coordinator of Georgia who interviewed for the Eagles defense coordinator job. But man, he's playing really well. What did you notice? A couple guys I want to mention. Did you notice Milton Williams? Because I was told Williams really looked good. What did you say from him?
I thought the entire front four. Vic didn't have to blitz.
They don't blitz at all.
No,
Yeah.
The front four did a great job of, if they weren't getting an elite jump off, they were at least closing the pocket around. And by the way, there were about 3 tip balls at scrimmage. Jalen Carter tipped one. I think Milton Williams tipped one.
You got one.
Nolan, yeah. So they were using their length. They were using their athleticism. They were collapsing the pocket enough. And we know this about Russell Wilson. He is another guy that gets jittery when the pocket starts to, even just starts to close around him. There were probably some plays Russell could have made just watching on tape where if he just stuck around there and gave himself an extra second, because the Eagles played a lot of zone. And you know that when you play zone, eventually receivers can find soft spots in it if you are patient. And Russell wouldn't be patient because he felt the pocket pinching around him.
So on what you just said, I do want to mention this, that the word around the league we got on Vic was that and there are voids in every zone defense, but there were specific voids in the Fangio scheme that when Vic coached it, no one's been able to find it. It's remarkable because remember, they say bend and don't break. They're not really bending. Show me where they're getting hit.
Yep.
No one's doing anything against them. It's the story of the season is this defense. Obviously Barkley and offense, but the most, because it's so surprising how bad they were to close last season. A lot of guys underachieved. The coaching was not good last season. We've outlined that a ton of times. And look, it did end well for Vic in Miami. Some of the veterans didn't like him. Well, they love him here. And the total buy-in, that's the thing to finish my point off here.
Mm-hmm.
The buy-in was immediate with this group. They I don't know how they feel about him personally, but professionally, they sure as hell have bought in, and it's been a great story to see.
Absolutely. And when you talk about improvement, again, Nakobe Dean against the run is a guy, especially on outside stretch runs, Adam, where you don't have an offensive lineman flying at you like it's inside zone. His ability to chase, pursue, and weave through traffic without losing speed, like taking the right route to the ball carrier and getting there in a beeline and making the tackle, is really good. His coverage is okay. It's never going to be great. Freiermuth,
they're not getting killed though.
No, Freiermuth got him on that little. Freiermuth's really good. So I have to, I don't want to say elite, but he's very good tight end.
Right.
He's a good route running tight end. He routed him up on one little inside out. The two straight catches Freiermuth had, but the second one wound up being called a reverse because he didn't catch it. You remember that? Mm-hmm. It was in I think the second quarter where he had 2 straight catches.
Yes.
Yeah, but the second one got called back because it showed he dropped it. Well, the first one was a really nice route. He kind of put the in-out and lost Nakobe Dean. But we've seen that, and it's going to happen. You can't play a perfect game. We know coverage is an area, you're right, where he doesn't kill you, but every once in a while you can beat him. But running laterally and getting to ball carriers on outside zones, Nakobe Dean playing downhill has been very impressive.
I could tell you from being in training camp, when I came out of training camp, I'm like, I don't know how they're going to handle running backs because Dean did not cover running backs well in training camp.
Mm-hmm.
Vaughn was better, but you didn't really know because he was new to the position. I mean, it's been we rarely talk about it because they haven't gotten hit. The linebackers have not been bad in coverage. It's kind of been surprising. I'm not totally sure why we haven't seen tight ends burn them very much. Gesicki got them maybe a little bit earlier this season, but it has not been a problem. And I'm going to throw this at you here because I asked Mike Gill this question. Other than Jordan Davis,
Mm-hmm.
is there a weakness on this defense? Player-wise?
No, in fact, Jason Avant addressed that on Q&A. So I'll let people kind of
Yeah.
listen to his rationale because I specifically had the question, what would you do to attack this defense? And he basically said, like, you kind of want to be sort of maybe spread or open, wide open, and just try to attack with the quick passing game, the crossers, the levels concepts in front of the linebackers and safeties, and hope you have a good enough offensive line to give your quarterback the time to do it because that's really you're not going to beat this team deep. They play too much too high, or even if they're playing one high, they're getting good pressure because they're sending like a sim and confusing a quarterback where they've got good outside corners who are now pressing and closing the cushion quickly. It's really hard to go deep against this team. So you really have to work the flats and work the seams. And all of Russell's completions were basically flats and seams, right? The touchdown to Freiermuth was a seam. The two straight passes to Freiermuth that I just mentioned were the seams. He hit one to Calvin Austin on the seams, but it was like 3rd and 18, and he got 12 yards. So big deal, right? That's it. Throw into the flats, throw to the seams, and if you can do that maybe 6 or 7 times in a row, maybe you can change them up and get them deep. But no one's been able to do it.
The only pass over 20 yards they hit was on a flea flicker to Austin, so you got to give them credit. I know Pickens didn't play, but who cares? I mean, it's about results. You don't control who you play.
Right.
And they did a great job. And now the Steelers helped the Eagles a little bit by not playing Mike Williams more. That was stupid.
Yeah.
But bottom line is they were really good. And the fumble by Najee Harris, that pretty much did them in if they were going to make it close. But this defense, man, you were talking just a minute ago about what you would try to do against them.
Mm-hmm.
But their zones are so tight, it's really hard. They're much tighter than I thought it would be. Everything I'd heard from league people was that, oh yeah, Vic's on the match on his match principles. There's when they hand off, there's some issues. Well, yeah, but here's the thing, which the communication's been so good.
Mm-hmm.
Vic's new to this group. That's the thing. So is most of the all but Jeremiah Washburn. They're new.
Yeah.
The defensive back coaches are new, and it's something to see. It's pretty remarkable.
I think the Lions, because of their rhythm passing game, could probably score points against the Eagles. I think the Bills could because Allen's been on one this whole year long. But I don't know about the Vikings. I think because Darnold sometimes gets jittery under pressure, I'd probably favor the Eagles defense in that kind of matchup, even though they have great weapons and a much better offensive line. But that's for down the road, Adam. We'll see if they wind up meeting in the playoffs. That's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds. Be sure to check out our friends at phlsportsnation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at phlsportsnation.com and on Twitter at phlsportsnation.